Justin Fields. What should they do now with that first overall pick? What would you do?
Who's my guy? So I need to figure out who's my guy. Is my guy Caleb Williams, or is my guy Jaden Daniels? So if Washington says they want, and we really believe that they want Caleb Williams, and we really are lukewarm, like him, whatever, but we love Jaden Daniels. But I'm okay with either one. If I could somehow flip Washington to move up to 1, and I still get my guy at 2, because I'm happy with either one of those two, and I can get some extra from Washington, then I'm good with that. Or do I think Drake May is the guy, and I'm sitting at 1, and New England decides that they want to come up to 1, but I think I can get any of the 3 at 3 from New England, but New England wants to get a quarterback, and they love one of the 3, but I'm happy with one of the 3, and I can trick any of them 2 teams, Washington or New England, to move up to 1.
That's a good word, trick.
Yeah, trick them into it to believe that we're going to take what they want, but I'm happy with all 3. Then I'll try to get extra picks out of this because I need to build my roster. But if I'm convinced that Caleb Williams is the guy, then I'm going to take him. But if I'm not convinced, but I like Jaden Daniels, and I know Washington loves Caleb because Cliff Kingsbury's there and all of that, let's get on the phone. Let's have a conversation.
Okay.
And let's talk about this.
What if Washington dares you? What if they play chicken with you and say, no, we don't believe you're going to take Caleb. We good. We'll just sit right here. We'll sit at 2, and we'll see what you leave on the table.
But I got to be convinced that I'm okay with any of the 3. And if I'm okay with any of the 3, then if I can't move it, then I'll go to New England and say, hey, you want to move up to number 1 spot? You want to move up to the number 1 spot?
Yep.
And then New England will say, well, yeah, maybe. What's it going to cost? So I think they're sitting in a sweet spot to get something extra out of it. Because for me, when I'm looking at it, I love Jaden Daniels. I think he's the best quarterback.
But you knew him growing up.
I knew him growing up. I think he's the best quarterback of them. I've watched him. I watched his growth. I've watched everything. He throws a pretty ball.
He does.
And when you're talking about his skill set.
And you watched him even at Arizona State.
When he was there with Herm Edwards and Marvin Lewis and company. And I've seen him at LSU. And under, you know how hard it is to play for Kelly at the quarterback position? But to be able to, in that conference, dominate the way that he has in 2 years and then winning the Heisman. There's only one other quarterback. I know they didn't win a national championship, but there's only one other quarterback that went to LSU, by the way, and Joe Burrow, that you look at and you go, oh, man, he dominated the SEC like that?
He did.
And so you look at Jaden Daniels.
By the way, quick point, Mel Kiper on his big board, I believe, I didn't look this up again this morning, I think he has those 2 LSU receivers in his top 7 overall players.
That may be the truth. Okay. Joe Burrow had those too.
He did.
And so did Bryce Young. And so you're going to have great skill position players. Carson Palmer was loaded with him at USC. I'm not taking anything away from the quarterbacks when they have receivers. That's just part of the deal. They make you, you make them. But people are saying with Jaden Daniels is slight. Okay, yeah, he's slight. And Bryce Young was tiny.
Slighter.
And he played in the same conference. So when people start to say that, I'm like, but now all of a sudden he's slight, but this other guy was a can't miss in Bryce Young, and he's smaller than Jaden Daniels. So I like him. The problem that I have for any quarterback that doesn't have a big, strong arm for Chicago is when the winter comes and that thing turns, that weather, because you got to go to Green Bay, okay? You got to play 8 games. I think that's about right. At least 8 games at home, depending on what year it is. You're playing 8 games at home.
And about 4 of them are going to, maybe 6 of them.
At least 4, maybe 6, because the weather changes quick in Chicago.
I live there. I know it.
So who can pierce through that weather when we decide to throw? And we go on the road to a freezing Green Bay. Who can pierce in that weather?
Well, Jaden's an L.A. kid. I don't know.
So you got to factor all those things in there. But I'm going to play a game with New England and Washington to see what I can get.
Okay. Is it fair to say that at this moment in time, you're still not sold on your USC quarterback and Heisman winner, Caleb Williams?
It's not that I'm not sold. I just like Jaden Daniels better.
Okay.
It's like you saying, I like ice cream, but I just vanilla is one flavor, but I like vanilla bean. It's richer to me.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. I believe Caleb will be better than Justin Fields or Jaden Daniels. So I think they have to take Caleb, but I'm not sure they're going to. And I was told that they're still very undecided about where to go, that they were not sold on Caleb coming out of the combine with all the controversy swirling around him and his father. He did measure taller than I thought he would because the 6'1" was pretty good because he's got a nice power base. Mm-hmm. Big legs, strong sort of core. The reason I like him is he's a special playmaker. That can be a good thing and a really bad thing because, to your point, he is off schedule and off platform constantly. He is much more comfortable outside the pocket to a fault where he breaks the pocket.
You just had that guy.
Yeah.
You just had the off-schedule guy that you didn't like.
Justin.
That rushed for 800 yards or whatever this year.
But Caleb's a much better thrower than football.
I get that. But if he's such an off-schedule guy in college.
But as you know, Caleb doesn't go off schedule to run. He goes off schedule to make some wild throwing play.
Yeah, and then you know the guy with the full beard that I always talk about? The guy traps up to his bottom of his earlobe.
Yeah, with the car seat.
With the car seat in the back of that SUV.
I know those guys.
He's about 31 years old trying to get to the next deal. Yeah. He's going to be chasing you. Yeah. Not the dude from Santa Margarita High School. It's a totally different situation.
There's just something. Caleb has it factor to me. He came out to Hollywood and immediately took Hollywood over and won the Heisman Trophy. And if you'd had a semblance of defense, they might have been a player in the national championship run. You might have. You had enough weapons on offense. But you had our defensive coordinator that stinking Lincoln brought from Oklahoma, the Grinch who stole football, and you know what happened. And so Caleb kept losing 55-54 to Utah. But he would put up 54, and he would play hurt against Utah the second time around where he's dragging his hamstring around. Mm-hmm. Listen, he stepped on the football field for my Oklahoma Sooners against Texas. The pressure is extreme at the Cotton Bowl with half Oklahoma, half Texas. He walked right onto the football field as a pure freshman, a true freshman, and took it over. I'd never seen anything quite like it, and I believe he'll do the same thing to the National Football League. I'm not going to go to first ballot Hall of Famer. I won't even go to Hall of Famer. I just think he'll be very good in the National Football League. And we're about to talk about the 2021 draft, and you see what a disaster it's starting to look like. I still think he will be the best of this group. And I know Drake May gets a lot of love. I don't love him. I watched him 4 or 5 times. I don't love his poise, his command of the position. I know he's got all the measurables because he's got the size and he's a pure pocket passer. I don't love him. I wouldn't bet on him for the long haul. So I don't know if they're thinking, well, let's go with the tried and true pocket passer in the cold in Chicago. Let's go with that. I don't know. They might just talk themselves into oblivion.
I don't think they're going to talk themselves into that because he wears Mitch Trubisky's number in North Carolina.
Good point.
And I'm sure when they looking at that, they probably said, it's probably not the smartest move on our part. But I understand Caleb he did well against Texas and Oklahoma.
He did.
Some of the big games has nothing to do with the defensive side of the ball in Grinch at USC.
Yeah.
Caleb didn't play well in some of those big games.